and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, we'd like to talk about 17's Heart, focusing on a little breakdown and analysis of the Face the Sun story to see what it can tell us about its meaning, its message, and what Heart has to do with all of that. Heart is a song written and composed by Yuji that describes 17's determination and ambition in becoming artists that burn brighter than the sun. As the members explained during the press conference, Face the Sun is an album that shows their passionate side as they move forward in their journey to pave their own way. If the sun is a source of light that has an undeniable impact all over the world, 17's wish is to become like the sun and spread their energy to brighten people's lives. In this context, we can say that the sun represents the ideal that they want to become. It's what inspires them to improve themselves, but also the final form that they want to achieve. This is also why during promotion, 17 told us that they were not 17 anymore. They were in themselves because they were in the process of transforming into a better version of themselves, and this true self is none other than the sun. In order to accomplish this goal, however, the members first have to overcome their own fears, which in the story is something that in turn is symbolized by their shadow. This is a confrontation that eventually leads them to grow from this experience and fully realize their own potential, so by facing their own shadow they end up facing the sun, which is the true self that they were always meant to become. Now if we take a look at Hot in this context, we can say that the song represents the culmination of this inner journey, so as we see in the video description, the title track corresponds to episode 5 of their adventure. In the concept photos, episode 5 was also the one dedicated to the pioneer, but in order to understand what this means, we actually need to go back to Darling and start from there. This is because Darling was actually episode 0 of Face the Sun, so it basically introduced us to the premise and the journey to come. Back in that video, 17 lived in a fantasy world that was actually inspired by Peter Pan's Neverland. Much like him, at the beginning the members have no shadow, they live together underground like the Lost Boys, and they love to spend time with their darlings, which in this context is both Carrots and 17 themselves. Like Joshua's book foreshadowed, in this fantasy world the members were living shadowless days, meaning that 17 were still innocent and didn't know any fear, pain or worries. Like the Lost Boys, the members still had to grow up, and this is a process that inevitably involves growing pains. If in the traditional sense this term refers to the growing pains the kids experience in their teens, however, the boys' growing pains are of a different kind, because their growth is not as physical as it is spiritual. In this context, their growing pains are the fears that they have to overcome in order to transform into a better version of themselves. Since improving yourself is a very difficult task, this is a process that is bound to be painful and even scary. As hard as it is, however, facing their own fears will eventually lead them to become their best self, so the moment their shadow grows, their journey to face the sun actually begins. Like Mingyu explained in the behind the scenes, in the story this quest starts with them looking for the mark of the sun, which is what eventually leads them to the building with the red door. As we see in the painting behind June, and later on in the video itself, crossing the threshold of this door leads them to a metaphorical downfall in the darkest parts of themselves. This is where their shadow resides, and this is what each of them has to confront in their own personal journey. Like the painting shows us, confronting their fear and overcoming it is the only way for them to complete their transformation and come back to face the sun, but by the end of Darling, the story was just beginning, so no resolution could be found. Their downfall destroyed their fantasy, left them injured, and the sun was momentarily covered by an eclipse, which, fittingly enough, is none other than a shadow. At the end of the video, the sign even foreshadowed that fear was coming, and in episode 1 and 2, fear did come by taking several different forms. Now if we take a look at the concept photos, episode 1 and 2 are titled Control and Shadow. The first one shows us 17 lined up in a military fashion as they are paired with black mannequins dressed in the same way. In this context, the mannequins represent their shadow self, which in episode 1 is in full control of the members because they still have to find a way to overcome it. In episode 2 Shadow, however, we already start to see some changes because instead of being controlled by this darkness, the members start exploring it. In this dark place, the only source of light is the boys themselves, so even if at this point they're still exploring their darker side, they're also gradually discovering their own light. Interestingly enough, moreover, during promotion, episode 1 and 2 were also associated to the 13 Inner Shadows, which was a series of videos, each of which showed us a member's personal journey to confront their fear. According to the video descriptions, the first 10 videos belong to episode 1, so from S-Scoops to Mingyu, each trailer showed us the first 10 members suffering under the control of their own fear. When we get to Vernon, June, and Wonu, however, we enter in episode 2, so much like the concept photo, the last 3 videos show us the next step of their quest. With Vernon, for instance, we see that he's playing his own reflection on the other side of the mirror, so his video is about him literally diving in to confront himself. June's video was all about metamorphosis and him transforming into a new version of himself, while with Wonu we finally get to the end of the road, where the sun is not up just yet, but the dawn of a new day is actually fast approaching. This new stage of the journey eventually leads us to episode 3, which is fittingly called Ray. In this episode, the darkness is still lingering, but at this point the members are already starting to burn like the sun, which is none other than their final goal. This means that we're getting closer to the end, and in the group shot this idea is confirmed with them moving forward together towards the rising sun. In episode 4 Path, the sun has finally risen, so we see the members running towards their destination because their path is finally enlightened. It's also cool to point out that if in Ray they were facing the sun, in Path they're facing you, so their path towards the sun essentially leads them to carrots. After all, their goal is to become like the sun in order to give you energy, so them trying to improve themselves is an attempt to connect with you even more than before. After all this journey, however, we finally get to episode 5, which is called Pioneer and is portrayed both in the concept photos and HOT itself. Now, Pioneer actually shows us the members on bikes as they find themselves in a brand new world. Even if their transformation is complete and they got to their destination, the members are seemingly ready to leave for a new journey, and this actually makes a lot of sense. Since they underwent a difficult transformation to improve themselves and burn brighter than ever, now they have all the tools they need to explore new paths and become actual pioneers in their craft. They faced their fear, they became the sun, and from now on they were born just like it, and as it turns out, HOT shows us exactly that. Besides portraying their passion and ambition, HOT is a song that is meant to express the hotness that the members feel as they reach the sun, so in the video we see a lot of symbolic scenes that summarize their journey as a whole. The cowboy concept, for instance, is meant to reinforce the idea that after their transformation, the members are pioneers in this new world, so fittingly enough, the video begins with them going from being a darling to being more daring. The traces of the suffering that they experienced in order to get to this point, however, are still pretty evident in this video, because Chang'an has the same injuries that we saw back in Darling, and the broken wings also reference their downfall at the end of that video. Since their pain is connected to their journey, the 8 is fittingly injured while laying on top of a compass rose, but the main source of struggle is obviously their confrontation with their shadow, which in turn is referenced in Uji's scene. June, playing the role of his shadow here, is also meant to show us that at the end of the day, this fight was always a fight against themselves and their own personal fears, and as we see with S-Scoops, this is a confrontation that made them bleed. From this experience, however, we also see the birth of a beautiful golden bird, and this is actually a very important symbol. You see, as I mentioned in my Darling video, all the symbolism of this comeback was heavily inspired by the theories of Carl Jung, which is a psychoanalyst that Hybe used in pretty much all their groups across the board. In Jung's theories, the sun is the ultimate symbol of the self, the shadow is the darkest part of ourselves that we repress in our unconscious, and fire is a symbol of the divine gift of creativity. These are all very fitting with what we saw up until now, and Jung's interpretation of the golden bird is actually no different. According to Jung, the golden bird is defined as a new fire that represents the entire nature of an individual after reuniting with the world. This is very fitting because 17 did reunite with the world after going on a journey within themselves, so the golden bird is the result of this journey as well as the true nature of the members coming to life after their suffering. This is a concept that is also reinforced with the giant hand in the middle of the desert, which might actually be a reference to this real giant hand, which is also in the middle of the desert. This is a sculpture that can actually be found in Chile, and according to the artist, it symbolizes human suffering, helplessness, as well as one's vulnerability in the face of adversity. In the video, we see the members overcoming all of this by becoming hotter than the sun, and by doing so, they essentially fulfill their fate. As the coin tells us, for instance, the boys are betting their tomorrow on the son of fate, but since the sun is the self, they're betting their tomorrow on themselves. In the video, we see that the mark of the sun that they were looking for in Darling eventually overlaps with the sun itself, but as we see with Wonu, they they are the sun, in the sense that this mark and this energy that they were searching for was inside of themselves all along. Confronting their shadow allowed them to finally see it and truly realize their potential, so now that they're in control of their destiny, they can be pioneers in their path moving forward. To see what the future holds for them, however, we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.